It's inspired by true events, which is why this one is not in my book, but I figure out here in Oregon I'm safe. This is called McDougal. When contemplating crew you're gonna hire, don't be hasty about whom you acquire, because someone who seems fun for a few minutes over the course of the season can test your limits. Like the lazy one who won't grab the leads, winch the winch, or get out of bed. The last to gear up, the last to the skiff. Nothing he does is done in a jiff. While we carry nets and set things up, he sips his coffee from his travel cup. His enthusiasm is far from a glow. If I can outwork him, he's got to go. Worse yet, the one that moves right in, acts like my shack belongs to him. Wants special meals with things like tofu. Thinks he's the captain instead of the crew. Can it get any worse? Ah, but then it can. We find him soaking his feet in our dishpan. My mind recalls meals, all those cups of joe as he sits there and wiggles his big toe. That's when it's time to let McDougal go free. He can mess with me, but not with my coffee. Of course, we got good crew too. This one's called Pipes. When the weather is nice and the water's flat calm, anyone can drive without a qualm. But when you're bucking waves as big as the hills and you want it to tiller, Johnny B. Mills. For he has nerves of steel and pipes of lead, and upon his shoulders a real good head. So when you're loaded with fish, how we wish that's so, and the outboard's struggling to make you go. You're taking on water because the freeboard's nil. You think, when you land, you should write a will. It's rougher than a cob and you're green round the gills and you want it to tiller, Johnny B. Mills. Let's switch gears a little bit here. This one's hopefully looking many, many years in the future. This is a fisherman's last will and testament. Oh, bury me by Slacky, for that's always our best net. As my ashes mix with glacial silt, I'll still be fishing yet. I grew up on your waters, my sandbox was your shore. Summer after summer, I've been salted to the core. There I learned to pick a fish, and there I learned to drive an old Dodge weapons carrier about circa 55. I've seen a lot of changes as time's passed from year to year. Man, what a life it's been. So shed not a tear. Our skiffs are now aluminum, not the old wooden dory. Oh, what tales that Fred could tell, if boats could tell a story. I filled my share of sandbags, mended loads of gear. Our fishing time's been whittled, but still, we persevere. I've seen nets sunk with salmon and nets full of lumber. The work is hard, but always leads to fitful slumber. So bury me by Slacky, there's no need for any tears. As my ashes mix with glacial silt, I'll be fishing through the years. This one's called Toss a Pebble. Toss a pebble in the water, watch the ripple flow. Just how far will it be felt, we really do not know. But the fish that feels the splash will tend to go away. Now imagine that water is Alaska's Bristol Bay. Millions of salmon returning every year. Cultures of people have always held them dear. Generations of Alaskans now wondering in fear, for if the salmon go away, they too will disappear. It is so plain to see we should not be tempting fate. The only place to toss the pebble is out of our state.
Yeah! Yeah!
As an East Side sitting there and cooking, that we kind of had a rough go of it this year. I've been watching about the Gillnet band down here. It seems like a lot of us fishermen are kind of in the same boat, just fighting for survival. This one's called Scales of Justice. A silvery badge like a sheriff's star tells of my occupation. bestowed not by human hand, but a symbol of my station. This emblem of the season attached without a pin, a shimmery little salmon scale tattooed upon my skin. I found them every summer since I was old enough to tread, granted by a hallowed fish, the sockeye, dubbed a red. Now our seasons are in danger, though we hope to carry on catching wild salmon that are heading up to spawn. Wherever fishermen ply the sea, their plight seems the same. New problems threaten runs, but fishermen get the blame. So I'll peel off this badge of honor and pray we are not done. I hope this tiny scale is not the final one. This is a writing called By a Tide. By a tide, I mumble to myself as I hit the snooze button for the second time. Just by a tide. It's our joke, the thing we say when we'd rather sleep in, let the others go without us, but we never do. It's not an option anyway. I get to the beach at 4:30 in the morning, launching in 15. We're expecting fish, or at least hoping for a decent pick, so we're heading out early. The wind is laying down, the water's less angry, but the slow rollers are a reminder of the storm that battered us yesterday. We run down to the gear with the following swell and ease up on the beach net. I gaff the cork line and fight to bring it over the bow, getting a chiropractic adjustment in the process. The line is fiddle string tight, the tide's still ripping pretty good, but what we see makes us smile. Heads and tails. Nothing but heads and tails. My mood is buoyant as the skiff takes on weight. By a tide? Never.
Yeah.
That one kind of spawned this one. This one's called Cook Inlet Chiropractic. A friend suggested the other day a chiropractor down the way. He'd adjust me for a fee. You'll feel better, just you see. I was stove up, that I admit. My back was hunched a smidgy bit, but it seemed a silly idea to pay, for we had an opener the following day, and the wind was blowing hard enough to make the water fairly rough. Pound to the gear through the briny slop, grab hold of the cork line, and pop, pop, pop. Pop is the moan of hangings giving way, and pop is the groan of my vertebrae. Why pay a chiropractor to adjust me for a fee when Cook Inlet will gladly adjust my spine for free? I'll leave you with this one. It's called Bow Down Low. It's funny the conclusions that people reach when they come to observe us at the beach. Things we think is obvious just ain't so, as the following little tale will show. My cousin's friends were down at camp one day. After watching us work, they had to say, when everything's done and we see you go out into the water and bow down low, are you giving thanks for the fish that you love? My cousin laughed and said, we're washing our gloves. Now, I chuckle whenever I think of those friends, but their observations were good in the end. When I wade in the water to wash my gloves, I truly am thankful for the fish I love. Thank you, guys.